That's one thing, isn't it, that Freemasons are humanoid reptiles?
Yeah.
Are you a humanoid reptile? Wow, look at this.
So there is Masonic representation on the moon.
That really is spreading the chips, isn't it? And what does the actual initiation ceremony, what does that involve?
If people want to go onto Google and they want to find that out and ruin it for themselves, that's up to them.
What do you know that I don't know?
Very little, I imagine.
This is incredible. And there's the eye. So a lot of people like to sort of assume that it means, you know, the Freemasons are sort of always watching.
I've never read that myself.
Are you covering up the world is flat?
Have we come around all this flat?
Was the landing on the moon, was it fit by the Freemasons?
It wasn't, no, not as far as I'm aware.
You sure? Can I? Yeah, no. The Metropolitan Police are considering whether to make being a member of the Freemasons a declarable organisation for officers. I thought that we could use this as a bit of an opportunity to have a chat about this mysterious organisation, its history, the shadowy nature of it, and what role it really plays in modern society. This is Times Radio. So, a few weeks ago, I was talking on my radio show about the Freemasons, the historical, secretive society. Who are they, really? And do they run the world? The next morning, I woke up to an email from a Freemason, but not just any old Freemason. A guy called Adrian Marsh, the Grand Secretary of the United Lodge of England, the head honcho of all of the Freemasons. He said he'd listened to the show the night before, and if I was interested in the Freemasons, why don't I come along to this place? This is the United Lodge of England. This is the headquarters of the secretive society that is the Freemasons in Covent Garden. He said to come along, so I said yes. The Freemasons are one of the oldest fraternal organisations in the world. Their history traces as far back as the 14th century and grew from the medieval guilds of stone masonry. Membership is secretive, but high-profile Masons have included members of the royal family, prime ministers, business leaders, and at least 14 presidents. The Freemasons have often been accused of covertly ruling the world. Their secretive rituals and use of mysterious symbols has made them one of the main characters in countless conspiracy theories. Some people suggest that Freemasons are controlling governments to bring about a new world order. Others claim that Freemasons are humanoid reptiles, covering up that the world is flat. Recently, a more realistic accusation has emerged, that Masons in positions of authority have been covering for each other. Do you know how I get in this building? Around the corner. Okay, thank you. The Metropolitan Police are considering making their officers declare if they are members of the Brotherhood, after a report that criticised their secrecy. The clock below the tower commemorates the 250th anniversary of the foundation of the original Grand Lodge on the 24th of June, 1717. 1717, this has got so much history, but throughout that whole history, there's always been this sort of air of mystery about the Freemasons, about why they really gather, who they really are, and what they're really doing. Whatever the truth, the Freemasons are fascinating and mysterious, and now I get to go inside. This looks more like it. Oh, we're here to meet Sean Butler, yes.
Welcome to stop filming, come in and we can call it.
We have to stop filming here?
Yes.
Okay. After being told to stop filming, we were met by Sean Butler, the United Grand Lodge of England's head of memberships and communications.
Let's go up to the museum first.
Okay.
We'll have a walk through, and I've got a nice little route planned.
Yeah.
So you can see everything.
Brilliant, okay, let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Excellent.
So the building itself was originally a war memorial to the thousands of Freemasons who were killed in the First World War.
And people can just come in here, right? So you can just...
6 days a week,
Right.
open to the public. So this is our shop. You'll see a number of the different types of Masonic regalia. When I say regalia, those are the aprons that we wear. Those are on display there, so anyone could come and buy one of those.
Surely you have to be a Freemason, do you not, to wear the full get-up?
No, I mean, if someone wants, in the comfort of their own home, to dress up like a Freemason, there's nothing stopping them from doing so. Right, should we go along to the museum?
Yes, okay. What's down here?
The book that you see in front of you here, the Constitution of the Freemasons, this is from 1723. So this is really the rule book that governs Freemasonry from its earliest point.
This is the original?
This is one of the originals, yeah.
Wow.
This was seen very much as a cornerstone for the United States Constitution.
Yes.
Because a number of the founding fathers were Freemasons, and several of the principles included in here you can then see replicated in the Declaration of Independence.
George Washington.
George Washington, Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of them very passionate Freemasons.
This is a mega throne.
This is a mega throne. I've never seen
This is
a
what I
bigger
expect.
chair than this.
This is what I expected to find today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this mega throne.
So what was the idea behind the throne?
Well, I mean, and you'll see this when we go around the other Masonic lodge rooms in the building. The throne really is a cornerstone to the structure of a lot of the meetings. So the person who governs the meeting, what we call the worshipful master, he will have a throne or a special seat which he sits in that allows him
in
to,
every meeting.
In every room. We'll see one at the end of this room, actually.
Right. So this is the United Grand Lodge of England. Where does that sit in the sort of hierarchy of the world?
It's the oldest Masonic Grand Lodge in the world. What we have is we have provinces. We have 48 provinces. So that's areas within England, Wales, the Isle of Man, and the Channel Islands.
Yeah.
And then we have 32 what we call districts, which are spread across the world. So we have districts in South America, we have districts in Europe, we have districts in Africa, the Far East. So it's all English Freemasonry spread across the world.
How many actual Freemasons are there?
Around 6 million.
6 million?
6 million. Yeah.
Wow.
And this was actually the Master Mason's apron that belonged to Winston Churchill.
Wow, this is
This
Winston
his
Churchill's
and
apron.
you can see his case just here.
How many other Prime Ministers have been Freemasons?
I think it's George Canning,
Right.
who was a Freemason in the 1800s. Other than that, nobody.
And are there many politicians now who are Freemasons?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Really?
I mean,
And you're the membership guy, so
yeah,
you would know.
I would probably know.
In 2018, The Guardian reported on 2 lodges set up 80 years ago in Westminster to recruit members of Parliament and influential political journalists to the Brotherhood.
There was a whole thing, wasn't there, a few years ago about this lodge in Westminster. What was the story with that?
It's an interesting one, that, because it's a great example of how these misconceptions can, imagine sort of like a snowball, a small snowball at the top of the hill, rolls down a snowy hill by the time it's a massive snowball. The reality of that is there are a number of inaccuracies within that particular story.
Okay.
The lodge itself meets here in Camden, doesn't even meet in Westminster. Right. We checked at the time, there were no current serving members of Parliament who were a member of the lodge, New Welcome Lodge, which was a lodge that was referenced, and the Press Pack Lodge that you referenced, there were no members of the Press Pack that were members of that lodge. What you had really was sort of retired security guards that used to work in the Houses of Parliament, that sort of thing.
I just sort of find it slightly hard to believe that there are no members of Parliament. 600 members of Parliament, hundreds of thousands of people do...
I couldn't say there were no members of Parliament. I don't know for a fact where there aren't, but certainly as members of that lodge, there are no members of Parliament.
But there could be members of Parliament
there could well
who
be.
are Freemasons.
There could well be, yeah, but as I say, it's just not important for us.
But you wouldn't know that?
No, it's not important for us.
No. So this is the library?
This is the library, but very quickly, this is a really cool little piece of information. Buzz Aldrin, who was obviously one of the first men on the moon, was himself a Freemason. And before he went, he sent a letter to his Grand Lodge, which was the Grand Lodge of Texas, and to mark the amazing achievement, he actually said to Buzz Aldrin, could you claim Masonic jurisdiction over the moon? And he did. So there is Masonic representation on the moon.
That really is spreading the chips, isn't it? Was the landing on the moon, was that faked?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Was it faked by the Freemasons?
It wasn't, no, not as far as I'm aware.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Trust me, Freemasons struggle to organise a dinner for themselves of an evening. I think faking a moon landing would be a tad of a stretch. I don't think there's a conspiracy theory that Freemasonry doesn't get wrapped up in, to be honest.
What are the ones that sort of frustrate you the most?
Oh, gosh. Well, the obvious one for me is the incorrect suggestion that women can't be Freemasons. So there are 2 female Grand Lodges and 1 male Grand Lodge.
Are there some lodges that women can't be members of?
Yes. So United Grand Lodge of England is men only. Right, let's go through it. When we have one of our 4 big annual meetings, they will get their regalia and their aprons on in here. There's some interesting portraits, monarchs.
So a lot of royal links to Freemasons.
Yeah, there is a connection there,
Yeah.
certainly, which continues to this day, as I say, with His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent as our Grand Master.
Duke of Kent. Is the king a Freemason?
King's not a Freemason, no.
Prince Wales?
Nope,
William? No.
Not a Freemason.
Harry?
Nope.
No.
No, the only senior Freemasons are Duke of Kent and his brother, Prince Michael of Kent. I was saying earlier that this building was originally constructed as a peace memorial.
Yeah.
And at the very centre of that peace memorial is this shrine. And the shrine is in memory of those Freemasons that we spoke about who lost their lives in the First World War.
How
It's
many
very
exactly,
special.
do you think?
Thousands, over 3,000.
Over 3,000
Over
Freemasons
3,000,
killed.
yeah,
And that was in the First World War?
in the First World War.
There was a thing, wasn't there, about Hitler and Freemasons?
There
And
was.
also, I think Franco and Mussolini also,
Yeah.
like the sort of fascist dictators of the 1930s, really had it in for the Freemasons.
They did. I think, it's a lack of understanding. certainly, and we certainly see throughout the reign of the Nazi Party that the misconceptions, the fabrications, the lies about Freemasonry play a very prevalent part in a lot of the propaganda.
Right.
And Hitler actually described it as part of a global Judeo conspiracy.
Yeah.
So what you see there is a clear attempt to, conflate Freemasonry and Judaism as a sort of enemy of the state. And we know that tens of thousands of Freemasons were killed in concentration camps, which, to be honest with you, I think goes some way to understanding why Freemasonry has been reticent in the past about being open and talking as openly as we are now, because there was a real genuine fear, quite rightly insubstantiated reason, to be concerned about well-being. There was a point where the Nazis had invaded the Channel Islands. The Masonic Temple in Jersey was ransacked. We know that people from Jersey were taken to concentration camps in Europe, and at one point it looked very likely that we would be next in the mainland. The events of the 30s and the 40s just meant that had to change. As I say, for the sake of saving lives, it had to change.
So quite a lot of that sort of 1930s sort of fascism, Freemasons getting persecuted, literally persecuted, and the conflation with Jews and some of the conspiracy theories around Jews and things are kind of back, right? Like that, it feels like that persecution is sort of starting to happen again. Do you feel, is that happening with the Freemasons? I mean, and do you feel unsafe ever?
I think you only need to type in the word Freemasons on X, for example, to see some of the violent rhetoric that's sometimes levelled against Freemasonry. And that can be worrying, it can be concerning. But as I say, our focus is trying to turn those misconceptions around. And we do that, we think, by talking about all the great things that Freemasonry does, to try and address those common misconceptions using the new channels of communication that's available to us. And we know that's not going to happen overnight. Do
you ever feel a bit unsafe? Do you sort of look over your shoulder occasionally?
Occasionally I do. Again, it's serious stuff. And I think actually social media now has given people a platform to act and behave in a way that I think they wouldn't do, I would hope they wouldn't do, if you were stood in front of them or having a regular conversation with them.
But it does happen, doesn't it?
It does happen, and it's something that we have to be wary of. It is.
For all the effort Sean was making to be more open, there are still rituals and traditions that are shrouded in secrecy. I was wondering if it was inevitable that people would fill the gap with their own theories.
Well, each of the doors individually weigh about 1.5 tons each.
Can I touch it?
You can, yeah.
Wow, look at this. Wow, this is incredible. Look at that ceiling and the thrones.
So this is the Grand Temple. So this is the main Masonic lodge room in Freemasons Hall. There aren't many sort of lodge meetings that take place in here a year. You're looking at 4 big meetings, which we call the quarterly communication. And then there's another one which we call annual investiture, which is where people get their promotions, or they get their new appointments to what we call grand rank, which is a very special thing for a Freemason.
And what does the actual initiation ceremony, what does that involve?
Well, I mean, so I would encourage you, Darryl, to come and join and find out exactly what it involves. But as I say, there's...
Is that an offer?
It is. I mean, if you're interested...
Is that an official offer?
Exactly. We're more than happy to help you out with that. But, someone will come in and they'll be led round the room and there'll be different things that happen to them.
They're blindfolded?
They are blindfolded, yes, that's true.
Right.
And again, what you've got to remember is these ceremonies that we enjoy as Freemasons, they're 300 years old.
Yeah.
And just like with, the opening of the House of, the state opening of Parliament, the coronation of a new monarch, things that have its roots, in tradition and in history, there are going to be things that nowadays we might think are a little bit different. But that's part of the enjoyment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And having that direct link back to what our, predecessors and our ancestors were doing 300 years ago is a huge part of the enjoyment with Freemasonry.
Okay, so I'd be brought in, I'd be taken around, I'd be blindfolded.
Yes.
Taken around, then what happens next?
Well, that is like that. The equivalent for that would be if we were to go into a cinema to go and see a film. If I was to ruin the ending for you before we went into the film, so I'm not going to do that.
That bit's a secret.
That bit's private. What we would encourage people to do.
Not a secret.
I wouldn't class it as a secret. No, because you could go onto Google and find out. if I'd have had that experience ruined for me before I'd done it, it would have taken so much of the enjoyment out of it. So purely it's that. As I said, if people want to go onto Google and they want to find that out and ruin it for themselves, that's up to them.
You're not giving any secrets?
Unfortunately not,
No.
no.
Like, you know, when the president becomes president and suddenly they tell them where the aliens are and that kind of thing?
Nothing like that, I'm afraid, no. Nothing like that.
And how do you become the kind of person who sits on the throne then?
What I hadn't realised was that one of the people who usually sits on that stage, Adrian Marsh, the Grand Secretary of the United Grand Lodge of England, was right behind us.
It is very grand.
It's good, isn't it? We've just been joined by Adrian Marsh, actually.
This is
you've been
Adrian Marsh.
speaking to Adrian,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Hey, Adrian. Lovely to meet you.
How are you?
Very well.
Yeah, good.
Good to meet you. Thank you for having us.
As the Freemasons' Grand Secretary, Adrian Marsh has been one of the most outspoken critics of people being made to declare that they are part of the Brotherhood. But I couldn't shake the feeling that it was possible influential Masons, like those in the police, could be covering for each other. How much control do they really have over how members use their relationships? It's a point I wanted to put to Adrian. I also wanted to know how he felt about the Freemasons' secretive rituals and symbols being at the centre of so many conspiracy theories.
The centenary celebration at the Royal Albert Hall in 2017, but it was designed to just give a history of basically the 300 years, effectively.
And there's the eye. So
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I've seen the eye since we got here. So what is the history of the eye then? Because that's sort of like one of the most contentious, not contentious, but maybe it's one of the most misunderstood sort of bits.
It means a lot of things to different people, and the convention that I would always look at is that when you're trying to create an organisation that's secular, so you can't have a defined God as you would in a religion. It's something that says that actually, your actions and deeds are observed, and you will have a reconciliation of your life at some point.
You do have to believe in a supreme being, do you?
Yeah, it's important that you have a faith, because a faith will guide your morality and your value set,
Right.
typically and historically. So we've always said that you need to have faith in something, but we really don't mind what.
Right.
But to have an active value set that's driven by your beliefs and your adherence to rules of law and society in general.
So a lot of people like to sort of assume that it means, the Freemasons are sort of always watching. It's been a pain, right? It's been a real pain, hasn't it, for you, this?
I've never read that myself, but now you're saying it, it wouldn't surprise me, because it's just one of those great myths that you do read about.
I was curious about Adrian. How do you become the Grand Secretary of one of the world's oldest societies?
And I was retiring from, say, my career in industry, and I was asked, would I consider joining here and being the Grand Secretary? And it wasn't something that even crossed my mind in whatever wild dreams I may have had at the time. And I talked to Jonathan Spence, who was our programme master at the time, about what he wanted to do. Did I like the organisation? Did I think that we could get it growing again, making it a value to members? And particularly in a world now where you have a lot of young people who are quite often not interacting on a daily basis other than on Teams or Zoom. We're an organisation that, outside of maybe your family or occasionally a religious group, we actually have multi-generational communication. And loneliness, young male, young female loneliness is a huge issue at the moment. And we do provide something that gives people a chance to have a degree of social interaction, which they might not ordinarily.
I was still intrigued about the Freemasons' mysterious initiation ceremony. I was hoping Adrian might be more forthcoming.
I think we got to blindfold and being taken through the room, but from there it's off limits.
Yeah, I sort of understand the sort of theatre of it, really, and so you can go online, you can find out anything you want. But part of the enjoyment of it, it doesn't suit everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but people who do like a little bit of tradition, a little bit of theatre, going round in a ceremony where certain things are being pointed out and the language is quite traditional, Old English language, it is quite moving and quite powerful. And
Why does it have to be a secret? Why does it have to be so secretive?
I don't think it really is. But my interpretation of it is back to your values. Do you really believe in something? Are you prepared to put your name to it and take an oath on it that this is how you would want to behave and you'd want others to behave to you? The secrecy is, again, it's not really, there's nothing that's secret. There is nothing that's secret. So the theatre is kept as theatre. But
So you don't learn something. Sean wouldn't tell me, but you don't learn something in that moment.
No, not that's going to no. It's simply a symbolism about holding something dear to your heart and being prepared to maintain that value.
And is there the handshake? Is there a handshake?
There is indeed.
There is.
Yeah.
Would you do the handshake?
I did when I came in, when we shook hands.
You shook my hand out.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Yeah. I didn't even notice.
There you go.
Are you serious?
That's the myth, isn't
Are you
it?
serious?
Yeah, of course.
There was something. Can we do it again?
No.
Oh no! Are you serious?
Yeah, it's a handshake. It's a handshake.
But just be clear. You did something in that handshake.
I shook your hand in a Masonic way.
In a Masonic way.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have had a clue. I don't have a clue when someone shakes my hand.
So if one Freemason greets another Freemason anywhere, there is a specific way in which they shake their hand.
There could be, yeah. There could be.
There could be, or there is.
Well, I didn't.
Depending on the person.
Depending on the person, yeah. I mean,
Right.
if you wanted to overly exaggerate something, you could do for sure.
I sort of feel a bit confused.
I know. Well, you have to join.
Have I become a Freemason?
You'll
Is
have
that
to
what
join.
happens?
You're not going to leave now, are you?
Exactly. You're quite powerful. You're the Grand Secretary of the United Lodge.
Grand Lodge
The Grand Lodge.
of England.
The United Grand Lodge. Grand United Lodge.
United Grand Lodge of England
United
and Wales.
Grand Lodge of England and Wales. That's a big gig. If you were to send somebody in a position of power an email, or would you get it? Do you know what I mean? Though, like, do you get a hearing? What about maybe like a prime minister or a secretary of state?
It would depend what it was about, but if it was something related to a matter of consultation, yeah, I would expect that to be received and acknowledged, and whether it's acted on or not, I can't answer. But yeah, you would get that.
What about the prime minister?
I've never written to the prime minister, but I suspect it would end up in whatever bureaucratic channel that will be dealing with it.
I'm not being sort of facetious or glib or flippant. Just trying to understand
Sure.
the sort of the influence, not in a sort of kind of conspiratorial sort of way, but what sort of influence do you as an organisation and you as the head of the organisation have?
Limited. I mean, we're 170,000 members. So if you look at it from a political perspective, we don't have a political clout. If it was to do with a charity that we're fundraising for, then yeah, I'd expect to have at least a dialogue about the money we've raised and what it was going towards.
How frustrating do you find the sort of what you would regard as misinformation and the sort of conspiracy theories that float around the Freemasons?
I think it's a great shame because I think it does cast the wrong light on things. I think it's very misinformed.
Are they all inaccurate?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. I mean, all is a very all-embracing term, so I mean, I haven't read everything, but certainly the things that we saw recently, one of the ones with the Met Police as part of their consultation exercise when, it was, well, there's a perception that people's promotions are influenced. I said, but really? I mean, you have...
That's possible. Is that possible?
I don't think so, because legally anyone who would have an interest would have to declare, the same as if it was your church group or your golf club member. If you knew somebody who was connected to a decision-making process, you would have to declare it.
It was a report into how police handled the unsolved murder of investigative journalist Daniel Morgan that recommended making officers declare if they are Freemasons. Daniel Morgan was a private investigator who was murdered with an axe in 1987. When the police were unable to find a killer, a report found that the Met was institutionally corrupt and had repeatedly covered up its failings. It pointed out that 10 of the police officers who were prominent in the investigations were Freemasons, and while it found that membership of the Freemasons was not a factor in Daniel's murder, and it found no evidence that Masonic channels were corruptly used, it did say that some officers being members was a source of recurring suspicion and mistrust, and that there were doubts as to whether Masonic loyalties, which all Freemasons swear to uphold, might present a conflict of interest. The perception is sort of one Metropolitan Police officer may cover for another Metropolitan Police officer, or a police officer, in any kind of, or anybody really in a position of power in an organisation, because they are Freemasons. Not necessarily that's a sort of diktat from above, or that's authorised by you, or that it's in the constitution of the Freemasons, but just because, I suppose, if you are part of an organisation and another person's part of an organisation, maybe just naturally that happens. Accidentally it happens.
I think you have to be really clear on what would be a motivation for someone to act in super bad faith or be a bad actor. And it wouldn't be because they're a membership of a particular organisation, unless that organisation had great rewards that came with it. So if you were in an investment club or whatever, and your membership and your wealth was created on it going forward, yeah, I could see possibly then you'd have some sort of mutually vested interest. But a mutually vested interest in that you're a member of a club, I'm not sure. I can't see how that plays myself.
Do Freemasons kind of look out for other Freemasons? Is that a part of the process?
I think Freemasons look out for people in society. So, you know, in terms of if you were concerned that someone was being impoverished or disadvantaged from a health perspective, would you look after them? Yeah, of course you would. But I wouldn't say if confronted with a choice, if someone's a Freemason, someone's not, would I go for no, not at all. It would go for the cause that's the greatest.
Is it sort of possible that some members of the Freemasons kind of misinterpret being a part of the Freemasons in that way and would have?
That I would say categorically not. There's no ability to misinterpret it. It's super clear. And when you were talking about obligations earlier, the key obligations are all around the opposite of what you've just described. Right. So that would be more than unusual. That would be just wouldn't. Yeah, it would. You would not be any. There's no ambiguity. Is what I'm trying to spit out at all. It could not be clearer that that's not expected. It's not countenanced. And if we ever found out, we would throw someone out. In my opinion, that there's no advantage for it either. So, I'm a finance director. So I think in terms of risk and consequences, and why would someone do something that have to be a benefit of sorts? And either the benefit is that we are siblings, and therefore as a sibling, I'd protect a sibling or my child or my parents. Yeah, I can see a familial bond that you operate under.
And so that would probably apply though, wouldn't it, to Freemasons? No. If you're both part of the same brotherhood, the same kind of organisation?
Yeah, but that's no different to saying if you're part of the same, you go to the same pub, you're part of a quiz team. It's not really. It's actually not really, because you're still a member of a membership organisation, and there's nothing, unless you join a membership organisation that specifically says you must act together, you can't ever which we don't. We're super clear the opposite. Look, the police have looked into this for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and there's never been any evidence at all.
But if there's sort of inherently a secrecy about it, that may hinder them getting a clear view.
But there isn't any secrecy. What's the secrecy?
Or police officers not declaring that they're members of the Freemasons.
But you don't have to declare you're a member of anything in the police. You don't have to declare you're in a particular church or in a golf club. If there's a legal reason why that declaration is important, because there's a proven factor and a connection, then yeah, you'd have to. If there's a conflict of interest, or that your decision could be prejudiced because of something, yes, of course you have to declare. But there are reasons why the laws of Great Britain are the laws of Great Britain, and the laws of free association are around. And a lot of them date back to the 30s and 40s, where in parts of Europe that wasn't the case. And you would have to declare your religion, your organisation that you're a membership of, and history dictates what sort of environment that created. So you cannot legislate for perception. You have to legislate for legal fact and fact-based things. Otherwise, the society breaks.
And obviously, people presume that the Freemasons are basically running the world.
Yeah, and you can talk to someone and people believe that members of a certain church or religious group are running the world. They believe that lizards are, in some, it's where does it stop?
That's one thing, isn't it, that Freemasons are humanoid reptiles?
Yeah.
Are you a humanoid reptile? What do you know that I don't know?
Very little, I imagine.
Yeah, no. Are you covering up the world is flat?
Have we covered out the world is flat? Now you're getting into some really serious secrets here. No, of course not. I mean, what we're about is saying that as a society, we want people to feel inclusive and be included and support the communities and their fellow mankind. That's all we're saying.
Some people genuinely think that the Freemasons were involved in the murder of JFK, or that they are covering up secrets, or that, and Freemasons have throughout history been kind of persecuted. And I wondered if you ever sort of feel that at your door a little bit.
No, I don't. Not living in our country, I don't. But I could see how you could get to that step if things changed, and if perceptions were reinforced in the same way as they were in Nazi Germany when Freemasons, for whatever reason, were put in concentration camps and executed.
You don't feel sort of targeted, maybe? No. When you're the Grand Secretary of an organisation that a lot of people hold accountable for things and, feel have undue influence in the world?
Well, you said number. A number of people will think things about a lot of different things in life, and we're not dictated to by a series of minority opinions. We're dictated to by the general population, and a belief that in the end, sort of a large number of fair-minded people manage our democracy and support our democracy. So no.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
No worries.
It's been a pleasure. I'm watching very closely for. No. That was just a normal handshake. Okay, fine. Thank you, Sean.
See you soon.
Take care. See you again. It's hard to know really what to think about the Freemasons. I mean, this is an absolutely beautiful building, so full of majesty and opulence, and they're trying everything they can, clearly, to try to shake off this idea that it is a mysterious secret society who secretly run the world. A conversation I had with one Freemason, he didn't want to be on camera, but he said something really interesting, which was that, for him it's about sort of community and belonging and coming together with friends, and the historical element, the rituals of it, the bit that is kind of weird and mysterious, the blindfolds and the oaths. He said all of those things were sort of rooted in history and tradition and gave him a sense of certainty in a world that is lacking certainty. But I wonder if there's something inevitable about people concluding that they are part of a global conspiracy to run the world when there are so many mysterious bits. Maybe you just can't have a secret society in this day and age without people filling the vacuum that you leave with nefarious intent, conspiracy theories, wild ideas. In any case, it is a beautiful building.